This is what you will need to make the pillowcase. You will need 2 scarves from Dollar Tree. You will need a needle and thread or a sewing machine if you don't want to sew by hand and you want it to go a little bit quicker, which I do have a needle here. You will also need a pair of scissors, and optional needs are ribbon. I picked out this trick-or-treat ribbon to go with my scarf, and straight pins if you would like to be able to pin your fabric together before sewing. And these are what you will need. Hi everybody, it's me, Gypsy from Smallwood Homestead, and today I am inviting you to Gypsy's Crafting Couch. And what we're going to make today is something like this. This is a pillowcase for a 16-inch pillow. However, the pillowcase that we will make can be used for a 16-inch pillow or a standard sized bed pillow. And you will need a couple of scarves. Please forgive me, I've injured my back, so I'm on a heating pad. So if you see me readjusting, that's why. But anyway, back to what you need. You need 2 scarves from Dollar Tree. I like using Dollar Tree scarves. They're inexpensive, and I can get ones that are for specific holidays, so I can change out my pillowcases according to the holiday. And sometimes they just have really pretty scarves. I use a lot of them for my hair, and I've used them as table runners on my coffee table before. They're just really handy, and they're cheap. You need 2 for this project. You will also need a needle and thread. Here's my thread. Or a sewing machine. If you don't want to hand stitch it, you'll also need scissors. And this is optional, ribbon. As you see, I put ribbon on my pillow over here. What it does is it helps to hide the seam. If you don't care if that shows, then you're groovy without having ribbon. I picked out ribbon today. And then this is also optional, straight pins. If you are someone who is maybe kind of a novice sewer, you might find that using the straight pins helps you along the way. So the first thing you want to do is grab your scarf and fold it in half lengthwise. You'll see I fold mine right sides together. Fold it in half. You kind of crease it a little bit. And this is not an exact science, folks. This is just a fun little thing that I like to do. You're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut the 2 pieces apart. And don't worry about it being perfectly even. These scarves tend to stretch a little bit, so your ends are not going to be perfect. But there you go. Now you have 2 pieces. And you want to do that with both scarves. I already did that one with my scarf earlier. So by the time that you do both scarves, you should have 4 pieces. Now, because this scarf has a pattern on it, and the pattern is directional, which means that the pattern goes in one way, one direction, I like to match up the pieces, and you want to match right sides together. And the way you can tell that is one side is darker than the other. Also, you can tell by where, and I've cut it off of this one, so let me find it here. When you have that little tag, that is the wrong side. Your right side is the side of the fabric where it's darkest. So, because, like I said, this is directional, I turn it that way, and I'm going to match the right side of another piece of the scarf so that all of my pumpkins and my hats on this particular scarf are going the same direction. So, and I'm going to take them, I'm going to put them right sides together. So you have two pieces together, and if you want to take a pin and just pin it together. If you want, just put a pin in the corner just to hold it for now, so that you know that you've already put your right sides together. And I'm going to do the same with this one. I'm going to get them another way to tell if you think you've oopsed, like I think I just did, is if you look closely at the hem, you can see how on this side you can actually see where the stitches, oh maybe you can't see it, well you'll be able to see where the stitches interlock with one another, whereas on the other side it's all smooth. The side that's smooth is your right side. So again, I'm putting my right sides together. This is going to be a long video, and I will probably fast forward through a lot of it, so I do apologize. Once you get your right sides together, you want to fold down a hem. It's called a shirt tail hem, and it is approximately 1/4 of an inch. And like I said, this is not an exact science. You do what you feel comfortable with. You're going to take the two pieces. You notice I have both pieces of the scarf together. I have both of them there. You put them together, and then you fold over just about 1/4 of an inch. Just about that much. You can see how much there. And as I said before, if you're a novice sewer, you may want to pin it, and you may want to pin this hem, your fold over, you may want to pin it all the way down just to keep it in line so that you know where you're going to be stitching. I've been sewing for 44 years. Yeah, 44 years. So I tend not to pin mine. What I like to do is just fold it over as I go. But you have your thread. Make sure you have a really good knot in it. A great big knot. Because this fabric is so thin that it's easy to pull the thread just right through with a single knot. So I recommend that you make a really big knot on the end. It's going to be hidden. No one will see it, so you don't have to worry about it looking a certain way. And then you want to come up through the bottom, up through your hem, where your hem is going to be. I probably should have used a lighter fabric. And you're going to pull your thread through. And you're going to do just a basic running stitch, or straight stitch, it's also known as. And I'm going to stitch a few here, so that you can see. I used white thread. I thought it would be easier to show up on camera, and also it kind of goes with the fabric because there are white moons and stars and spider webs on the scarf. So those are my stitches. You see my stitches right there, those little white lines. And you're going to do that all the way down the scarf. And you may have to change your thread quite a bit if you don't use really long thread in your needle. That's fine. And make sure when you do get to the end that you don't want to pull this too tight, because you don't want it to look like that. You don't want it to scrunch up. You want it to be smooth and flat. So sometimes you may have to smooth it out while you're stitching it. And I'm just going to keep folding over. I'm going to try to stitch this quickly. I probably should have grabbed my sewing machine, but it's up on a top shelf, and like I said, I injured my back cutting wood, so I'm trying to rest a little bit and relax, which is why I thought this would be the perfect project to film today, because I could just sit on the couch and I have all my cats are sleeping around me. It's a really gray, kind of foggy, misty day here at Smallwood. It's just kind of gloomy looking. Actually, it's very overcast. I just thought, well, today I will stay inside and do a little bit of this, since I spent so much time outside cutting up wood the other day. My ex-husband dropped 6 trees for me, and I had to chop them all up into logs and then stack them all so that I would have wood for my fireplace for this winter. Many of you who have been following me know that I could not use the wood stove that I had purchased for my home. It produces way too much heat for what is safe inside my house, so I had to have it moved to my barn for now. I'm going to try to sell it. So if anybody knows anybody in Southern Illinois who wants to buy a cast iron wood cook stove, and it is a cook stove, it's not just a wood burning stove, it's an actual cook stove, hit me up. Leave me a contact information in the comments below, because I'm going to have to get rid of it. I don't really want it to stay in my barn to where it's not being used. I would much rather sell it and have somebody actually use it. And as you noticed, I don't use pins. Like I said, I've been sewing for 44. I started sewing when I was 6, and I'm 50, so do the math. I'm not good at math. So I've been sewing for 44 years, so I tend to just kind of wing it. Some of you may do the same, which I think that's awesome. And if not, get out your sewing machine and zip right through. A sewing machine would make very, very quick work of this. Like I said, I'm just kind of winging it. Ooh, something got my kitty's attention. Wonder if there's a deer out in the yard again. I see a lot of deer here at Smallwood. Tons of deer. I have seen foxes. I have seen raccoons, turkeys, vultures, hawks, owls, many kinds of woodpeckers, turtles, snakes, lizards, let's see, squirrels, rabbits, obviously birds, tons of birds. I'm not sure. When you get to the end of your thread and you want to make a knot, remember to make a big knot. You can see I made a big knot. And I usually, to make my knots, I wrap the thread around my finger, and then after I've wrapped it around my finger, I stick my needle. Oh, whoops, I dropped my needle. I stick my needle through the little opening. Hopefully you can see that. That's my needle. And I kind of pull, but I push the knot part down, or the thread down, and that's what makes the knot. You can kind of, there we go. You can see the knot right there. And I'll do that, you know, a few times, and then it'll make a nice big knot. Now, I will tell you all, and some people will go, ew, that's so gross, but I'm a thumb licker. And that was something that was taught to me by my great-grandmother, who was a hand quilter. And when she's the one that actually taught me how to sew. And I'm trying to get this edge. Threading needles is difficult for me sometimes because I wear bifocals, so I don't see quite well. There we go. And I like a long thread, as you can tell. Now, I'm using a polyester thread, and a polyester thread it's very durable, and it doesn't tend to fray or knot up like a cotton thread will. Now, I like cotton thread. I've used cotton thread in a lot of things, but I am finding that with this project, the polyester thread is working better for me. And you can see what I'm using. That is what I'm using. Hopefully you can read it. I like this thread a lot. And like I said before, you just keep on stitching until you get to the very end. It takes a little bit when you're hand stitching. That's why I always tell people, if they're in a hurry and they have a sewing machine, you can just stitch it all on the sewing machine. But I want to show you what the first piece will look like, and then I'll probably pause the video so I can do the second side of it. This is what we're doing now, is actually creating the first side of the pillowcase. You know, a pillowcase has two sides. So this is going to be the first side. And yes, I do like to hand stitch sometimes. It's really nice. It's better than lugging my great big sewing machine. Well, actually I have 5. I have 5 sewing machines. I'm the only one in the family between me and my sister and my cousins who likes to craft. And so when my mother passed on, I inherited my great aunt's sewing machine, my great grandmother's sewing machine, my grandmother's sewing machine, my mother's sewing machine, and then I already had a sewing machine. That's how I ended up with 5 sewing machines. So I'm putting a knot here at the end. I have reached the end of sewing the first 2 pieces together, and I'm going to show you what that looks like so that you'll get an idea. And like I said, these scarves are so handy. I really like getting Dollar Tree scarves. It's cheaper than buying fabric, in all honesty, and they have such cute patterns on them. I mean, they really do have some really cute patterns. Okay, so this is what the inside looks like. You see where my stitches are. You can see the hem through here. Hopefully you can see the stitching. There we go. You can see the stitches. Now when you turn it around, this is what it looks like. And as you can see, all the pumpkins are going the same direction. And the length of this, as you can see, is like a standard pillowcase. So I'm going to show you the next part, which is creating another hem, because you know, on the inside of the pillowcase, I'll show you with this guy, because it's so long, you're going to want the edge to have a nice hem on it. So what you do is just like you did with the seam down the middle. You make yourself a 1/4 inch hem up at the top, and then you just stitch it all the way across, just like you did with the center hem. You're going to be really good at straight stitching by the end of this project. What's funny is I used to take pillowcases when I was in high school, because I was very tiny in high school. In high school, I was only 4'8" and I weighed about 90 pounds. I was very teeny tiny. So I could take a king size pillowcase and turn it into a mini dress for me. One of my favorites that I made, my mom was just astounded that I did this on my own. It was a leopard print. Now, I warn you, this was the 80s, so no judgment, please. But I took a leopard print king size pillowcase that I had picked up at the thrift store, and I cut 2 armholes in it, and I cut a boat neck swoop in the top, and you know, hemmed the armholes and hemmed the neck, and lo and behold, it was a mini dress for me. And my mom thought that was just, She didn't like the leopard print, but she did like the concept that that was a cool way to make myself a dress. Because I was so small, I could actually fit that. And it was cheaper to pick up a pillowcase at the thrift store than it was to buy fabric for that, because it would have taken about 1.5 to 2 yards of fabric to make that mini dress for me at that time, because I was so small. And doing it with a pillowcase was lots of fun. I wish I could get away with doing that now. I cannot. You know, the body changes as you age. And you all know, well, you all may not know, but most of you who follow me will know that I just turned 50. So I have a 50-year-old body instead of a 17-year-old body. So, alrighty. You can see the stitches. The white part, these little white lines are the stitches. And you just want to keep doing that all the way across. And you want to do that with the other 2 pieces as well. Remember, what you want to do is take your right sides together, and you've already got them pinned. You pinned it in the corner to show you which were the right sides. You'll make your seam down the middle, and then you'll make a hem across the top edge. And what I mean by top edge is you're going to hold your fabric so that all of the decorations are pointing the right way. And then you'll want to hem your top edge, you know, once you unfold it. After you've made the center seam, you unfold it and then you hem the top edge, which is what I'm doing now. And I'm going to stop here and get the hem finished on this piece, and then I'm going to stitch these 2 together and do the hem, and then we'll come back. Back now. And once you have sewn your 4 pieces to make 2 pieces, a top and a back, or front and a back to your pillowcase, what you will want to do is put those front and back together, right sides together, and then do the same thing you've been doing. Just do a hem along the long edge. You do it along the long edge, you do a hem, and then flip it over and do a hem on the other long edge. And what this is going to do is sew your front and your back together. And I'm finishing up the second long seam. Boy, that's kind of a tongue twister. So that I can show you what you do once you've got both pieces, the front and the back, stitched together. This is a project, if you're doing it by hand, it will take a while. So pop in a good movie or listen to, you know, a nice podcast. There are several out there I listen to. I think I've got like 30 podcasts that I listen to. Or, you know, listen to some music while you're doing it. Hand stitching to me is very relaxing. It's like crocheting. I kind of can get in the zone, and I know that when I'm finished, there will be something really neat that I will have done, and I will have created it with my own 2 hands. I do use my sewing machine, obviously. I made all of my son's clothes when he was born. He was a preemie baby and quite small, and I lived in Germany at the time. And this was in 1992, and they don't have preemie babies in Germany because I could not find preemie clothes anywhere. And so I took a baby doll pattern and I made all of his clothes for the first year that he was alive. Right after he was born. He was just very tiny, and my mom actually had to send preemie diapers over to Germany from the States for me because the Germans did not have anything that small in their diapers. And my son couldn't wear the cloth diapers for very long. He would break out, oh gosh, he broke out in the most horrible rashes. It was just really, really terrible. But I made all of his clothes and I used my sewing machine, because trying to hand stitch all those teeny tiny clothes, whew, it would have taken forever. This project here is probably a good 3 or 4 hours hand stitching from start to finish. I've never really timed it. I don't know. Okay, so your piece should look like this now. You have both sides. You see that? Both sides. You basically, what you have now is a tube. You have a hollow tube. So what you want to do, once you have your tube, you notice you have hemmed the top part already. You have made your finishing hem or shirt tail hem at the top. So now we're going to want to stitch the bottom together. And you're going to stitch the bottom together the same way you've been stitching everything together. You fold over 1/4 inch or so, and you just start stitching. And this is, like I said, this is a project that will take you a while if you do it by hand. If you're wanting a new way to kind of meditate, the repetitive nature of the stitching is very meditative. It's very calming. And if you pop on like some, there's some great Zen music on YouTube that you could listen to while doing this, or pop on your favorite, CD or radio station while you're doing this. You can relax. Or if you want to, if it's nice weather, I personally like to sit outside and hand stitch, and that way I can listen to the birds, and it's just really, the wind and the trees, it's just really calming and soothing. It's been quite a while since I got out my sewing machine, because I just enjoy hand stitching. Oh, I've gotten a knot. And sometimes you will get a knot. That happens. You can leave the knot in, or you can try and tear it out. But if you try to tear it out, you run the risk of tearing your fabric, and I don't like to do that. So because this is going to be on the inside of the pillowcase, it's not going to be shown, I'm just going to leave it. I'm not even going to worry about it. And those knots usually show up, if you pull too fast, you can get a knot. Or if your thread is too long, you can get a knot. But I'm kind of a rebel stitcher. I like my strings really long, longer than you're really technically supposed to use. But like I said, I've been doing this for 44 years. Yeah, 44 years. So I do it my own way. And I'm sure you do it your own way as well. And I'm about halfway through the hem here. And then I will show you the next stage that we're going to do. Hopefully my thread will last. And right in the middle, you are going to have a little bit of a bump from the thickness from the side seams that you put in. But the reason why I like to put the 1/4 inch fold, the shirt tail hem, even on side seams and middle seams, is because this fabric, the scarf fabric from Dollar Tree, is very, very thin. And with it being so thin, it's easy for it to fray and for it to rip. And I just like my seams to be a little more sturdy because of that fact. So that's why I fold it over. It keeps the stitches from coming out automatically, or from pulling through the fabric of the scarves. And what's really neat too, if you get just a solid scarf, you don't have to worry about matching the top and the bottom with the design, because, well, solid scarf, it won't matter. And if you wanted to do like a color blocking type of thing, then buy 2 scarves that are different colors and stitch the 2 different colors together. And then you would have like a very modern looking color blocking pillowcase, I guess. But I like trying to find different uses for Dollar Tree items. Oh, hi Magic. Hi Magic. Magic is overseeing my progress here. He likes to take charge from time to time, don't you? I don't know what he's seeing out the window. There's probably squirrels out the window gathering nuts. I have a lot of walnut and pecan trees in my forest out here in my woods, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was looking at a squirrel. I keep looking out every now and again because yesterday I saw a very young buck who's just getting his rack in, and oh, he was beautiful. I posted a video actually to that in my videos just recently. You can check that out if you like. I'm almost to the end here, and then I can show you how to put it on the pillow. Let me get this through here and tie it off. I want to make a really big knot, and you always want a really big knot when you're using the dollar store scarves, because like I said, that fabric is very thin. It's easy for the threads to pull through, and because this is going to be probably on your couch and someone may sit on it, you don't want it to just pull it all the way through. That would make it tear a lot easier, and you don't want that. And let me snip that off. Okay, so now all my edges are sewn except for the top. And remember, we said that the top was where your fabric is upright, so you can see it. I'll be right back. I just realized I forgot to grab the pillow. Okay, so here I have a 16-inch pillow, and I have my pillowcase that I just made, and it's inside out. And there's a reason why it's inside out, because my great-grandmother taught me this trick when I was a little girl. You stick your hands in, you go all the way down to the bottom of the pillowcase to where the points are, and you put your fingers in the points. And then you grab your pillow with your fingers and the points, lift your arms up, and fold it over like so. Ta-da! Now, you notice there's a lot left over, and that's why I said this is good for a bed as well, a regular size pillow for your bed. Now, you can fold it over and just sit it on the couch like that, or you can take a ribbon like I have here. I have this cute trick-or-treat ribbon, and this came from the dollar store too. This is dollar store ribbon. So what you want to do is go under, you know, where you've got that flap, put your ribbon in the middle, and you can kind of line it up with your seam. You see the seam is there. You can kind of line it up, and I think that's a bit much, so I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. It depends on how big you want your bow. If you want a big bow, if you want a little bow. I don't want a very big bow, so I'm just going to cut it there. And you can kind of line it up, like I said, over the seam part, because the whole point of having the ribbon is to cover up the seam. And then all you do let's see if I can get this tied. I'm going to have to turn it facing me. I'm sorry. I can't get it tied that way, upside down and backwards like that. Alrighty. And then, ta-da! You have a new pillow and a new pillowcase. And you can do that with Christmas, Halloween, St. Patrick's Day, Easter. The Dollar Tree is so awesome with their holiday merchandise, especially their holiday scarves. And you can make a new pillowcase for all of your throw pillows for each holiday. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Gypsy's Crafty Couch. By all means, click the like button, share the video, and please, please subscribe to my channel. I just like to have fun, and I hope you're having fun along with me. Guess that's it for now. Until the next episode of Gypsy's Crafty Couch anyway. Namaste. Have a great day. And here's what the pillows look like on my couch. I think they look amazing. What do you think?